I found a love letter hidden in my grandmother's attic. It changed everything. The day I found the letter, I thought I was cleaning out my grandmother's attic. By midnight, I was running through a rainstorm, chasing a secret that had been buried for over 50 years. And the most shocking part? The letter wasn't written to my grandmother. It was written to my mother. My name is Emma. I was 23 years old, with long blonde hair that reached the middle of my back, and until that day, I believed I knew exactly who I was. 3 weeks after my grandmother Margaret passed away, I returned to her old countryside home to help prepare it for sale. The attic was packed with dusty boxes, forgotten furniture, and decades of family memories. I spent hours sorting through old books and photographs. Then my foot hit something unusual, a loose floorboard. I knelt down and carefully lifted it. Beneath it sat a small metal box. Inside were dozens of photographs, a silver locket, and a sealed envelope. The paper was yellow with age. Written across the front were the words, "To my dearest Lily." My mother's name was Lily. My hands began to shake. I opened the envelope. The first sentence stopped my heart. If you are reading this, it means I never found the courage to tell you the truth. The letter was signed by a man named William, a name I had never heard before. But the next paragraph was even stranger. I have loved you since the day you were born. Born, not met, born. I continued reading. William claimed he was my mother's biological father. My grandfather Robert, the man who raised my mother, wasn't her real father, at least according to the letter. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed downstairs. I nearly screamed. Rushing down the attic stairs, I found a framed photograph lying shattered on the kitchen floor. The picture showed my grandmother standing beside a tall, red-haired man. Not Robert. On the back, someone had written, "Margaret and William, summer 1971. The same William. I immediately called my mother. The moment I asked about William, she became silent. Then she whispered, "Where did you hear that name?" Her voice sounded frightened. I explained everything. The attic, the box, the letter, the photograph. For several seconds, she didn't speak. Then she said something that chilled me. "Emma, burn the letter." "What?" "Burn it." "Why?" Her voice trembled. "Because some secrets destroy families." Then she hung up. I stared at my phone in disbelief. That wasn't an answer. It was a warning. That night I couldn't sleep. I reread the letter over and over. Near the end, I noticed something I had missed before. An address. A small coastal town hundreds of miles away. The final sentence read, "If you ever want to know who you truly are, come find me." The next morning, I got into my car. 6 hours later, I arrived at the address. An old white house overlooked the ocean. The place seemed abandoned. Then the front door opened. A tall young man stepped outside. He had bright red hair, the same unusual shade as the man in the photograph. The moment he saw me, he froze. His eyes widened. Then he whispered, "You look exactly like my sister." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" He stared at me. "My name is Ryan." His voice shook. "My grandfather was William." The world suddenly felt unreal. He invited me inside. The house was filled with photographs. Family pictures lined every wall. Then I saw one that nearly stopped my heart. A young woman stood smiling beside William. She looked exactly like my mother. Not similar, identical. I pointed at the picture. Ryan nodded. "That's my Aunt Sarah." My confusion deepened. "Aunt?" Ryan sighed. Nobody ever explained what happened. Then he led me to an old study. Inside stood a locked cabinet. From a drawer, he removed a stack of letters. All written by William, all addressed to Lily, my mother. But none had ever been mailed. For hours we read them. Each letter revealed another piece of the mystery. 40 years earlier, William and my grandmother Margaret had been deeply in love. They planned to marry. Then William disappeared. At least that's what my grandmother told everyone. But according to the letters, that wasn't true. Someone forced him to leave. Someone threatened him. Someone powerful. My grandfather Robert. I couldn't believe it. Robert had always been the kind, loving grandfather everyone admired. Yet the letters suggested a completely different story. Then Ryan showed me something even more shocking. An old newspaper article. The headline read, "Local businessman survives mysterious car accident." The businessman was William. The article was dated only 2 weeks before he vanished. The police never found evidence, but William believed someone had sabotaged his car. I suddenly understood. This wasn't just a love story. It was a cover-up. That evening, Ryan and I drove to the local library. We searched through archives until closing time. Just before leaving, we found another article, a marriage announcement. Margaret and Robert. The wedding occurred only 3 weeks after William disappeared. 3 weeks. Far too fast. Something felt terribly wrong. Then Ryan found a handwritten note hidden inside one of the archived files. It contained only 4 words. "Meet me at midnight," and beneath it, "Lighthouse." The note was signed by Margaret, my grandmother. The next night, Ryan and I visited the abandoned lighthouse. Wind howled across the cliffs. Inside, hidden beneath loose stones, we discovered a rusted metal tin. My heart raced. Inside was a diary, my grandmother's diary. The final entries revealed everything. William had never abandoned her. Robert had threatened him. Robert's wealthy family controlled local businesses and politicians. William was given a choice: leave forever or disappear permanently. To protect Margaret and their unborn child, he left. Unborn child. I reread the sentence 3 times. Then realization hit me. Lily, my mother, William's daughter. Tears filled my eyes. My entire family history had been a lie. But there was still one question. Why had my mother hidden the truth from me? The answer came unexpectedly. When I returned home, my mother was waiting on my porch. She looked exhausted, as though she hadn't slept for days. Without saying a word, she hugged me. Then she started crying. "I always knew." I stared at her. "You knew?" She nodded. "When I turned 18, Grandma told me everything." I couldn't believe it. "You knew William was your father?" "Yes." "Then why keep it secret?" Fresh tears rolled down her face. "Because Robert raised me." I finally understood. The truth wasn't simple. Robert had done terrible things, but he had also spent decades being her father. The man who taught her to ride a bicycle, the man who attended every school event, the man who loved her. Life wasn't black and white. People were complicated. Then my mother revealed one final secret. William wasn't dead. I froze. "What?" She nodded. "He lives in Oregon." My heart nearly stopped. He wrote to me every year. I couldn't speak. All these years, all these letters, all this pain. And he was alive. 3 days later, we boarded a plane. Ryan came with us. When we arrived, an elderly man sat on a wooden porch overlooking a lake. His hair had turned white, but his eyes were unmistakable. The same eyes as Ryan, the same eyes as my mother, the same eyes I saw every morning in the mirror. William slowly stood. His hands trembled. My mother began crying before she reached him. For 40 years they had been separated. 40 years stolen by lies. Yet somehow they found each other again. The reunion lasted hours. Stories were shared, photographs exchanged, questions answered. At sunset, William handed me a small envelope. Inside was another letter. This one addressed to me. The final line read, "Families are built by love, not by secrets. Never let fear steal the truth from the people you love." As the sun disappeared beyond the lake, 4 generations stood together. A family that should have known each other decades earlier. All because of a forgotten love letter hidden inside an attic. A letter that changed everything. And for the first time in my life, I finally knew who I was.